Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wantrepreneur Wednesday. So my name is Patricia Cimino. For those of you I know, and for those of you I don't know, I am a certified life coach. And 14 weeks ago, I created this mini series called Wantrepreneur Wednesday. And each week I bring a different woman entrepreneur and I let her share her story of how she started her business, what gave her inspiration. And all of this was with the intention to inspire you, right? To inspire you as far as what is possible. So maybe you were thinking in the back of your mind, what's next? I work with a lot of women who are at that place in their life, and some men too, who are like, what's next? And maybe this is something that will inspire you to think about doing something on your own as well. So today I want to share with you my guest and newfound friend, Lexie Wilson. Lexie is a intuitive life coach, and she's also a Reiki practitioner. And I met her at a networking event, and immediately our energy we just exploded, right? So I loved her energy, and as she told me who she was and what she does, I wanted to learn more about it. So I'm going to let Lexie introduce herself to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I was just sharing that this is like my first real kind of interview, so I'm very excited to be doing this with you guys. Like she mentioned, I'm Lexie Wilson. I was a former family therapist, and now I am an intuitive life coach and Reiki therapist, and I love all things to do with healing and using energy to promote healing. So that's my mission. That's how I like to show up in the world and serve others.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of people who don't really know, like I think I've mentioned in one of my Facebook Lives, like life coaching is such a blanket term right now, right? There's life coaches for so many different categories. Right. So like where I work with the people who are usually in midlife and they're looking for their next chapter, and I help them get clarity on that to then take the steps and give them the inspiration to get moving. How would you describe what is an intuitive life coach?
Well, intuitive life coach, and this is what's so awesome about, life coaching, is that we can all kind of take the things that we've learned in our life and the education and all of that and put it together to create awesome tools for other people. And so with intuitive life coaching, for me, I was always this really spiritual child, and I was really attracted to nature, really attracted to just the natural way of life, and so I wanted to tap more into that piece of myself with it, which is a little bit more that intuitive, that just natural knowing that we all have. And everyone is intuitive. There are a lot of people who think, oh, I don't have that. That's something else that someone else has. But we're all born with these amazing gifts. And so
good to know, right?
Right. So good to know. Really good to know. But that's kind of my goal, is helping my clients tap into that side of them. Not everybody wants to, but if they are, then that's who I like to serve, and like how I like to show up is to let people know you do have this amazing, creative, intuitive side. Let's crack open and see what's inside and kind of get into that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And now share what a Reiki practitioner is, because I've gone to a couple. Within the last 2 months, I've gone to 2 different Reiki sessions. One is from another dear friend of mine who I will be interviewing soon. Her name is Gail Ann Bradshaw. And her Reiki is Reiki and massage. Last week, I experienced Lexie's Reiki, and it was very different. It was solely Reiki. And I'm going to tell you, I think you all know, because a lot of you have been supporting me, and thank you so much for your kind words and your support for all the stuff I've been going through this last couple of weeks with the passing of my really dear cousin. And I was feeling so stuck last week in a lot of negative emotion. And I went to a Reiki session with Lexie. And I have to tell you that afterwards, it wasn't like I was cured or I was feeling, but I did feel a sense of release, of pressure that I was feeling, and sadness that was really just hanging over my head. And I felt lighter. I felt much, much lighter. So I'm so grateful that I was able to come to that, and you did that. So share what your form of Reiki is.
Yeah, and I love that you started off with sharing your experience, because that is my mission. I honestly believe that for a lot of us, we experience stressful things in life.
And grief.
Right? Yeah, grief. There's experiences that we have that leave us with disappointment, leave us with anger, and all of these things. And so we tend to hold that in. We don't release it. We don't let it go. We think if we don't forgive, that it means that we'll protect ourselves from any other harm or danger. We think if we stop feeling sad, that it means that this person didn't mean a lot to us, or, whatever it is. So we tend to dwell in this energy, whatever that energy may be. And so what I like to do is I like to help people to release, so that way they can help to bring more positive energy into their lives, and also just transition, because life is filled with these emotions and they're beautiful. It's not something that we should shy away from. It's not something that we should pretend it isn't happening, because it is happening. But at the same time, these experiences are meant to help us grow, to teach us something, to humanize us even more, to make us connect with each other. But sometimes when you're going through those emotions, it can be so heavy. And that heaviness can block us sometimes from getting the success that we want, or just feeling happy or feeling connected and inspired. And so what I like to do with and each Reiki therapist kind of decides how they want to do their Reiki. But my mission when I do my sessions is to help people release, so that way they can bring that creativity back, or that inspiration back, or even just gain clarity and understanding as to why am I experiencing these emotions.
And you know what, guys, we were talking about this earlier today, and I have a woman entrepreneurial mastermind that we have, and we were speaking about this. And, years ago, this stuff would have been looked at as like woo-woo.
Right.
So it's too woo-woo for me.
Yeah.
But it's like, you guys, there is so much scientific energy, so much scientific background information on energy.
Right.
Like, it's not woo-woo, it's science.
Yes.
And like, when you learn more and more about science and how energy is in everything from like, this chair to this table, it's crazy. So if a table or chair has energy, can you imagine what us as human beings have?
Right. And I love to use like two different examples, because number one, you think of how like when you're really angry, right? I mean, everyone knows that feeling of just like so much fire in you, right? Your hands are visibly shaking.
Been there, right here. Been there lots.
Totally live. With that is energy. That's why your hands are shaking. That's why your face is getting red. That's why it's energy that's building up within you that's ready to blow, So that is energy. So a lot of people who do get into that, like, oh, I don't think this is real, you're already living it. You're living that energy. And another way that I like to always talk about Reiki is think of like when you have those moments where somebody is going through a really hard time. I actually just did it a few seconds ago and I didn't realize it. But when someone's going through a really hard time, or you need to show some sort of comfort, what do we tend to do? We tend to, it's all right. We reach out, we touch. And why are we touching? It's not that my hands are automatically making you feel comforted. It's my touch promotes comfort within yourself. And so that energy rises, that feeling of, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, I am connected. Oh, it's going to be okay. We do the same thing if, our kid comes home and they have a wonderful report card and we're like, oh my gosh, good job, buddy. That hand clap, what does that mean? Why do we do that? It's that sense of touch, that sense of rewarding with the connection, so that way they know, wow, you did a great job. But we need touch. It's really important. So that's a really simplistic way to look at what Reiki is. But that is one way that I like to describe it. We're constantly using touch to promote healing, to promote connection. We hug each other, right? I mean, really think about hugging. It's a really weird thing, but we're connecting heart to heart.
But it's funny that you say that, because doesn't it release the oxytocin?
It does.
Because I know whenever I like want to hug from my little guy, I'm like, give me some oxytocin. Right. And I'm squeezing his guts out. But I love it. And he loves it too.
Right. Yeah. And listen, it's so important. I remember in school, when I went and got my master's degree, one of the things that we learned about was this study about how there was these children in China that were in an adoption center or something like that. And, or not an adoption center, a foster home. And these kids were left by themselves. Well, they weren't touched and hugged and things like that. And many of them died. But many of the ones, when they started to realize like they need to be cuddled, they need to be held, that touch actually helps them to live.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So that's where it's like, and we need that. We need touch. We need connection. And so that's why for me, and I love to do that. You know, I love being able to hug people. I'm such a hugger. You know, I love handshakes. I love all of that stuff. And it's because I know the power of touch. It makes me feel good, and it makes people around me feel good as well.
So start hugging.
Right? Exactly.
So let me ask you, what led you to leave your corporate job, I mean, social work, but you know, as a marriage and counselor, marriage therapy counselor, to do this work? Like, what was the trigger point? What was it?
Well, honestly, I mean, there were several trigger points, but I think probably the most powerful was this realization that I was being limited. So I could only show up in a certain way. I wasn't able to, and like I said, I'm very intuitive, and I really believe that my intuition has helped in promoting healing in my own self and my own life. So the fact that I couldn't really talk about that in our sessions, I couldn't really talk with clients about that. And I felt like, man, there's so much. If we looked at natural ways, you know, getting outside, connecting with people, we would find a lot more healing. And especially in this day and age where everything is so tech. I love technology, but I also know that sometimes that becomes a barrier between connecting with other people. So I wanted to provide that level of healing, but I couldn't do that necessarily in the sessions that I did, just because I wasn't allowed, and I didn't like that. So there was that point of it. But then also in terms of just the regulations that you can't do certain things for insurance purposes. I also couldn't control who I could work with. So I may have a client that's not ready necessarily for counseling, but I'd have to continue working with them. And counseling is very different when you're ready versus when you're not ready. It's a very different energy. And so with that being said, I realized like I really want to show up by really connecting with people in a totally different plane, if you will, way more one with the client who wants to have services and is ready to make changes, but then two, who's really open to intuitive, you know, kind of guidance and really getting in touch with their inner self.
Key point.
Yeah.
Open. Gotta be open to this work.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And that's a big thing. That's a really big thing. If you're not open, if you're not ready, and that's okay. We're not, you know, always ready to do every little thing. So it's okay. Life is a journey, and we always have these opportunities to grow. But if you're not open, then a lot of these services may not be ready for you or the best thing for you until you're ready for that sort of thing. And that's what kind of led me into doing this. I wanted that freedom to work with open people.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what has been your biggest challenge going from working a 40-hour work week to being an entrepreneur, being responsible for your own income, you know, and what has been the biggest challenge?
Oh, well, you know, so the first thing when I first started working for myself, what was very difficult was actually not working so much, because when I was working, it was easy for me to work more than 40 hours a week. I mean, I didn't do 40 hours a week at all. I easily did maybe 60 or so, doing that. So, cause you just note taking and all the stuff that you have to do, post sessions. So, and meetings and things like that. So when I became an entrepreneur, I kind of created a very similar work model, where I was working all the time. But the problem is that there is a difference between being busy and productive. And I was completely busy and I was not being productive. And I wasn't listening to my intuition. I knew that I was tired. I knew that part of why I left the job was that I wanted to have the freedom, you know, I wanted to be able to choose my schedule, and I wasn't doing that. So that was probably the biggest challenge at the beginning, was this constant. And I'm a Capricorn. Capricorns are known for like working really hard. We're addicted to it. So that was part of the issue there too, is the fact that I just love working. So I would continue to work. But the thing was that it wasn't productive. I can't say that I was bringing in lots of clients at the time. I can't say that I felt good about it. I didn't, because I wasn't doing anything. I was just constantly marketing and constantly doing all this stuff. And that was probably one of the biggest challenges, is trying to figure out, how do I get my name out there, but at the same time not work a million hours when I left my job so I could have that freedom.
Reason. Yeah, which happens a lot with when people who want to start businesses.
Right.
Let me ask you, okay, so when life gets hairy, because it does, what is your mindset? What is it that you have to think and believe to get through those hurdles?
And it's funny. My first automatic answer is the answer that probably people wouldn't expect. I allow myself to get depressed. I do for the first day or two.
That.
Okay, so
because this is something we talked about in our Reiki session. Because she told me last week, sit in your grief.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. I can cry and I can bawl and I can cry and I can bawl and it's okay.
Right, right. That's what I do. I give myself, depending on the situation, 1 to 2 days to really just be as angry as I want to be as selfish as I want to be. And I don't mean that in the sense of self-care, because sometimes people think self-care is selfishness, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sense where what you're saying doesn't make any sense at all, but you want to say it anyway. I allow myself to do that. I allow myself to be a little foolish, where I'm just thinking that this isn't right. And now the thing is, I know that there's lots of people who discourage that sort of thing, mainly for law of attraction purposes. Their idea is, and of course, if you're familiar with law of attraction, I'll break it down really simple, is the idea that what you feel and what you think is what you'll attract to yourself. So many people discourage me from doing that because they're going, yeah, but if you do that for 2 days, what kind of energy are you attracting to yourself? But at the same time, when I've not allowed myself, because I feel so deeply, I really do, just as easy as I can be as happy and outgoing and loud, I can cry and get so in my feelings. So it's really hard for me not to feel that. I have to experience it. But here's the thing, is that because I know that this is only 1 day or only 2 days, I allow myself to know that I'm going to be okay. I literally have that now. I'm very protective of that energy because of what I do. I don't schedule any sessions during that time. I may reschedule some of my clients because I know that at that moment, I may be kind of harmful for them, because I am working with energy. So I make sure, okay, listen, I'm having a hard time. This is not the time for me to show up in any of my sessions, because the version of me that's available is tired, is exhausted, is unhappy, is depressed, is, frustrated. And if I bring that into my sessions, that won't benefit my client, nor will it benefit me. I'm very respectful of energy. So I allow myself those moments, but I have a limit on it. So there's that. And then the next thing that I have to shout out my boyfriend here because he is a total optimist, which is really great for me for those moments. Essentially what I'm saying is get a team, get people around you, that will remind you who you are when you forget who you are. Because when life gets hairy, that's one of the first things that we do is we forget who we are.
Yeah, and then the saboteur comes in.
Yes.
To remember when you did this? And
right. And that's one of those things that it's I have diagnosed anxiety, and so it's very easy for me to get into that rumination period of thinking about every little thing that I did that was wrong.
I think everybody has a little piece of that.
Yeah, I do think that. I really do. So when you have people around you that have light, then it reminds you oh, wait, I have that too. Or, oh, life does get better. But if you're surrounding yourself with people who aren't going to call that version of you out, they're going to allow you to go through that depression for months, for years, and they'll let it keep happening, instead of encouraging this other side of you. So that's one of the things that I let myself be in that moment, but I have a limit on it. And then I definitely maintain those relationships around me. I may be protective. I may not be as outgoing during that time. So I may not, connect with all of my friends, but I let certain people, my best friend, my boyfriend, be a part of that process. So that way, when they call me out and say all right, Lex, we got to eat, we got to do something, we got to get out of this house, I allow myself to say, all right, I'll go out, we'll take a drive, we'll do whatever.
Yeah. So this goes all back to my live that I did earlier this week about feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
Not trying to be something that you're not.
Right.
And if you are here and joining us, please say hello.
Yeah.
Because on Be Live, we don't see your name. So please just type your name in, say hi. And if you're watching the replay, write replay by it.
Yeah.
And throw us some hearts if you like this. I really love that. And share it if you think that this is a message somebody else needs to hear. Yes. So in business, I would like to know, what is the best mistake you've ever made?
Ooh.
I'd love to ask.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The best mistake that I've ever made, okay, and I keep making this mistake, and I'll probably continue to do that, is taking financial risk. So what I mean by that is like, there's so many times I can be so close to the vest sometimes with my money and say like, oh, but I already have the education. I already have this. I already have that. So I'm not going to spend any more money, you know? But the problem is with that is that when you don't invest in yourself, your business can become very stagnant, you know? And I mean this when I'm talking about money in particular, because that's usually when, hi Caitlin.
Hi Caitlin.
So glad you're here. But usually when it comes to money, that's when we stop ourselves. That's we may invest in all the free things in the world, right? And we'll continue to do that. But when it comes to, let's say you go get I don't know, like
even just investing in a Reiki session, or a coaching session.
Right, exactly. But I want to talk about specifically the things that where you feel like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get my investment back. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's where it's like, I've made those mistakes where I, you know, became like, okay, so I'm a certified parent educator, which is something that I learned when I was back in school, because I really believe in educating parents and empowering parents. So that because when I went to become a marriage and family therapist, a lot of times people want to focus on the children, but I felt like parents actually need a lot of support too. We don't provide them enough comfort or enough room to just make mistakes, right? So I wanted to support them. So I became certified in becoming a parent educator. Now I was fresh out of grad school. You know, I wasn't a parent, you know, I was just a really great babysitter, but I was definitely not a parent, but I was so passionate about that. Now, looking back, I could easily look at that and say, well, that was a mistaken investment because I'm not doing that at all, right? Except I don't feel like it genuinely was. I work still with a lot of parents who feel discouraged about how they're showing up in their relationship with their children, who feel like they can't be honest with the rest of the people in their family because they're like, well, my sister doesn't make the same mistakes that I do, you know, and all the, like, I tend to talk with a lot of parents. I attract them, you know, and so I feel like because I have that education and because I have that passion to connect with parents to say, it's okay, you know, I think that it prepared me to be here. Absolutely. So technically it was a mistake because I didn't become a certified parenting educator and I didn't open up a parenting education center, which is where I thought I was going to go. But it was not a mistake. So that's probably those, my favorite mistakes are the times where I've invested in money in something that I didn't end up actually doing.
But it helped.
Yeah. And sometimes what it helps too is not just what you learn from the educational tool of it. Sometimes it's also just taking that act, like saying that
who you become.
As a result of doing that. Yes. And that is one of those things that I'm definitely having to learn because my natural tendency is to say, I'm not spending my money on that. I've already spent my money on all this other stuff. When it's like, no, actually spending that money on, you know, whatever it is, joining that networking group or getting certified or whatever, it's a major help for you, regardless of if you think that you're going to get the investment that you thought you were going to get back. It may actually be something else that you get, and it's just as worth it.
Such a great point. Such a great point. Because I know even as a coach, like I still invest in a coach, you guys.
Yes.
Like I have a coach all the time. So, and I won't ever go without it. Because guess what? That coach every week or every other week when I'm getting on the phone to talk to her, she's ready to, like, you know, hold me accountable and to, you know, and to remind me of the things that I said I was going to do and not hide behind excuses.
Right. And that's so necessary. Like I remember in school, when we were learning that, one of my teachers said, and this was when I was becoming a counselor, and she was like, really great counselors have their own counselor. Yeah. You need to have your own counselor because you're holding in all of these stories from people, and you can get some pretty dark stories when you're in a session. And if you're not able to release what that happens for you, not that you're going around telling everybody like your client's business, but so much that sometimes you're in a session and it triggers something within you, you know? So you need your own counselor to be able to say like, wow, I did this session with this client and I realized, wow, like I'm still hurting from my own wounds from that, you know, and I need somebody to talk to. So really great counselors have counselors, really great coaches have coaches. I have my own Reiki therapist, and that is amazing. She's awesome because she's able to hold that space for me. Yeah. Which is something that I need because as someone who walks around, you know, providing healing and encouragement to other people, I need to be able to release all of that energy that I'm receiving as well.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best advice you could give to a woman who's contemplating starting a business?
It's okay that you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, we've all been there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think like that is the thing. Like
the business plan doesn't need to be written.
Oh yes, that does not need to be written. And let me speak that to some women, okay? Because let me tell you, I'm not saying that men don't have this issue too, because I do think that they do. But there are so many women who won't move forward because they've been told, well, you don't have a business plan. And the reality is, and I'm going to be 100% honest here, y'all. So many of us as women, I don't think that's how we necessarily operate. We're not like, let's write it down and then create all these different things. We like flow. We like to listen to our heart. We like to listen to what's the temperature today and go with that. Now, there's nothing wrong with creating a plan from that, but I think our business plans are a little bit more, they're much fluid. That's the word that I'm looking for. So it's okay to get started not knowing exactly, how are you going to market your business or who are you going to work with and it's okay to just have the vision. Now, the next part that I have to add to that is that even though you have no clue how you're going to get your name out there or who you're going to work with, this is where it's important to get in like teams, networking, connecting, investing in a coach, investing in masterminds. This is where it's really important because by working with other people and seeing other people live their dreams, you get clarity for what you want to do and how you want to show up in your business. So it's really important that you do that piece, especially when you're not exactly sure what you want to do. But you can certainly get started, and that we all have like a purpose. We all have a mission. We all have this desire. We're like, man, I see a problem and I want to show up and I want to help. Don't get stuck on the fact that, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. Then go ahead and get a coach. Go ahead and if you can't afford a coach, listen, when people say, oh, I can't do it because I can't afford a coach. Girl, go to a library, like get a book or join a networking group. Oh, yes. And I did mention Audible. Yeah, I love Audible. That is a simple $15 a month investment. And it's not like it's $15 that just goes into the ether. It's $15 and you get one book a month. If you want to pay more for more books, then great. But you still get that book. And that's your coach. I've learned so much from just reading these books. I'm a huge reader and I've always been one. And that is what has taught me. It's increased my vocabulary when I was a kid. But it's taught me a lot about how to run my business. And then because I do learn through talking, connecting with other women is also super important to me. So even when I've had times where I couldn't afford a coach or I couldn't find a coach that I really wanted to invest in, I didn't use that as an excuse to not move forward in my business. I just used that as, okay, that's not going to happen right now. Let me connect with some networking groups. Let me get some books. Let me find other women who are already living the dream that I want and learn from them and just be in their energy, but my point is that I didn't let that stop me, because the reality is a lot of us don't know what we're doing. We just don't, we really don't. So if you wait until you have it all figured out, you may be like 90 years old and unable to do anything. So, and even then I did an internship at a nursing home. And that was probably the biggest lesson that one of my clients told me was that I'm 92 years old and I still don't know what the purpose of this all is. And I was like, she's 92. And I was like 21 at the time. So I thought, all right, then if no one knows what we're doing here, we just got to go for it,
Okay, Lexie, tell the audience where they can find you online, in person. I know you work out of an office, so tell the audience, because a lot of the audience is a local audience.
Yeah,
please share.
Awesome. So,
and for those of you who are not local, you can catch her online too.
Yes, and you can catch me online as well, which is what I love. I work both locally and online. I got my start online, so that's where my heart is, and I love it. But I'm everywhere at the Lexie Wilson. So on Facebook, it's facebook.com/the Lexie Wilson. Also, I do have my office in Aurora, Illinois on 1695 North Farnsworth Avenue. And I'm super excited about that. I'm doing like a grand opening. So I have 15% off of services, which I'm very excited to start doing that as well. So we have that. And then I'm also on Instagram. I love Instagram because I love doing videos. So if you haven't picked up on the fact that I'm kind of a wisecracker, so I like doing videos that are funny but teach you something at the same time. So on Instagram, I'm Instagram.com/the Lexie Wilson. And I think that's pretty much everywhere that I tend to be
No,
at.
you also have a podcast that you have a few
a few sessions on there too, but
and
mainly I do mostly video nowadays. So find me on facebook.com/TheLexieWilson. I mainly do video because I love podcasting, but people love like seeing this face. So I've been doing a lot more of the videos, but I do have my podcast as well that you can also find on TheLexieWilson.com. I have a podcast button there, so you can always check that out there. But I really love just teaching. Like I was homeschooled. So, and one of the ways that I learned was teaching like my brother. My mom would teach me and then teach to Matthew, who is my brother. And I learned a lot through that. So I love to learn. And so I teach. I love to learn through teaching, if you will, by podcasting, videos, and the like.
And if you like all of this, like law of attraction and manifestation and all this stuff, she does have a private Facebook group.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to share that?
I do.
She gives a lot of great tips in there. I enjoy being there.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So yes, the Facebook group that I have, it's free. It is women only. And it's a really safe space for all of us who are really into learning the law of attraction, but don't have a community of people to ask questions or don't feel like we have some place where we can feel safe enough to really explore it. So the law of attraction group that I run, you can find it on facebook.com/groups/TheLexieWilson group. If you get the theme, everything is The Lexie Wilson, because I'm not very creative and I couldn't figure out a really fancy name. So that's what we did. But you can also find that on TheLexieWilson.com. There is a button there as well to join the group. But it's a really awesome space, and I love the women that are in there because of the fact that we're all about positive energy, feeling our feelings, but at the same time knowing that we're trying to learn the lesson here. And when you have that type of mentality, every negative experience and every negative feeling becomes a positive. Yeah. Because you see it as, you know what, guys, I'm going through a really hard time, but I know that there's a lesson here. Can you guys help me out? Can you guys help me to figure out how do I manifest this? How do I bring this into my life? And so when you have that mentality, every negative experience that you experience can start to become this positive thing where you start to look at it. Yeah, because you're looking at it as a growth opportunity. And that's something that we do a lot in our group. So I would love for you guys to come on by.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for being here today for Wantrepreneur Wednesday. It's been my pleasure interviewing. Yeah. And we will see you again next week.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was so good. That was good. I'm like ready for round 2.
Okay, now we're going to